and welcome to another episode of Gospel Spirit Mission, the Kingswood Church podcast. I'm Lonnie Couture, the technical director here at Kingswood Church, and it's my honor today to be with our youth ministry director, Marley Gramling. I'm so excited for you to be here. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little bit nervous, though.
Yeah, no, I get that. But first things first, I kind of just wanted to start off, I know you so well, but I just wanted to hear a little bit about your testimony, maybe people that don't know and things like that. We'd just love to hear from you.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting that we're sitting in the fellowship hall because I think my first memory of, I did go to church with my parents up in Lee Center, Illinois, which is a really tiny town, and I can remember doing Sunday school there, and I always had good memories there with my cousins and stuff. But my first memory of coming to church here is Sherry Mugridge, who's been serving in student ministries for so long. Her daughter graduated with me, and she actually invited me to VBS when we were like in fourth or fifth grade.
Mhm.
And so I came with her, and those are kind of my earliest memories of really learning who Jesus was and, all the fun that comes with VBS. And it's fun to serve now, looking back. And then when I got into my teen years, I grew up actually a couple blocks from here. My mom still lives there. So I would come to youth group, and eventually there was a Young Life mission trip. Um, and someone paid for me to go on this trip, and it was out to North Carolina. And I went out there, and they had us go out on these mountaintops to pray. And I can just remember feeling the Holy Spirit really strongly. And someone had kind of told me who Jesus was and what he did for me. And I remember praying and looking up at the stars, and I felt like it was time to give my life to Christ. And so I did so. And then as teen years went on, I kind of, I stepped my foot into what I could. I would come to youth group regularly, and there was this super cool guitarist that was playing in the youth worship band who ended up becoming my husband. But at the time, we were young, and he was probably one of my best friends, and we would grow in faith together. We would kind of go hang out, go to movies and stuff with friends. And eventually, we started dating. And like 2 days after we started dating, we got into kind of a car accident. I was driving on Cleveland Road there, and I was, we were pretty good kids. We were really trying to live for the Lord and follow Jesus, and we're coming to church, and so we weren't into anything bad. We were just meeting some friends to go to a movie, and as I turned into this gas station, I didn't see a motorcycle coming, and I accidentally nicked the back of the motorcycle when I turned. And the couple ended up surviving, but it was a really hard time in my life. So I would have been about 17 years old, and it really hurt my faith. I was really dealing with those big questions, why would God allow something like this to happen? And how do I, is there really a God if things like this always happen? And it was really hard on my faith. So I turned away from the church and away from the Lord for a long time, and made some decisions that were really hard. And eventually my husband and I hit a really hard point in our marriage, and we were both kind of not sure whether we were going to make things work or not. And we had multiple people speak into our lives about forgiveness and about how God forgives us for the choices we made, and how we needed to use that forgiveness for each other and go to church. And so we went to church, and that was kind of it. We both hit our knees at that church service. We were living in North Carolina at the time, actually, again. So when I rededicated my life to Christ at that moment, it was also in North Carolina. So it's a very special place to me. And it just changed our lives. We just decided that we needed to get serious about our faith walks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hearing your testimony, and I mean, I've known you for about I don't know how long, not super long, but hearing your testimony and kind of seeing where you're at now, it's just like, it's crazy to believe I feel like from what you told me, you've come a long way, you and your family, you have wonderful kids. and you're working at the church here. It's wonderful to see. It's the funny thing is you haven't really been actually working here very long. You know, you kind of just started, I think, really this year, right? I think that's when you really took on the role, and um, like the role was kind of a surprise, kind of sprung upon you. I know you were the assistant for a while, but the previous person that had this role, Jeff DeMay, had passed, and the role was open and needed, and you just took that on.
Mm.
And I wanted to ask, I've always wondered, what was that moment that, you were like, okay, like I'm doing this, like this is it. I think about like for me in my job, like I think like when I was up on the lift, up in the ceiling, working the lights, I'm like, okay, I'm in it. This
Yeah.
is it. This is it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering like, what's that moment for you? You know?
Oh gosh, great question. So actually, this is not my first time in this position.
Oh.
Brennan and I have served for, actually, I was calculating this before we chatted, almost 10 years now in student
Mhm.
ministries. I can remember he came home. When we moved back here, we had one daughter and we were getting involved in the church, and I worked in the nursery for a little while. And Pastor Chris always makes the joke that he has just always had my resume and all my information in the filing cabinet tucked away because I always just would like apply for a job here. And um I guess Brennan came home one day from something at the church and he said, "We're going to start serving in student ministries." And I said, no, thank you." And he said, "Yeah, we're gonna try it out. I think it would be good for us. I think you'd be really good at it." And I was like, "Absolutely not. I was a wreck as a teenager. I don't think anybody needs that." And so we started serving. He won, obviously, and we started serving, and it was the best thing. A lot of at the time, Sherry Muggeridge was my small group leader when I was a teenager. So she was still there when we came back, just full of faith, serving teens and loving them where they're at. And it just touched my heart. And so I can't even remember the full scope of things, but through multiple times, I think this is my third time, there has been interim positions open where Brennan and I both have, or I just have taken a role as an interim youth director, and it just was never the time and place for me to go full on. And so my kids are older now. Um, and it absolutely shattered my heart when Jeff passed because he was a mentor to me, but um at the same time, he really left a lot to me, like, and there was a lot of conversations that we had looking back that I feel like he prepared me, and when I came to take this position, I had a whole list of reasons why I couldn't to God, and God was just he would answer all of those almost before I even spoke them out loud. For example, I thought, well, I have 3 kids in tow with me. I can't bring them to work, like this position needs somebody who can give it full attention. And Linda Vanderleest, we have to share an office. She went and bought a desk for Bella. And so Bella has her own desk in the office and you play with my kids. And I mean, it's just kind of a family ministry, and so I'm honored. But the time where I think I really realized was probably about the time Linda put Bella's little desk in there, and I
Hmm.
think that was before I full on agreed, if I remember right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, and like obviously that's like such a hard thing to say yes to. I mean, especially with kids of your own and you're taking care of them. But what has been kind of the biggest learning curve in all of this? I mean, leading the student ministry. I mean, obviously you've said you've helped out for a long time, but now it's the leadership role. What's just that biggest learning curve for you?
I think the biggest learning curve for me has also been one of the greatest blessings in my entire life, and I think it's that I don't have to do it all.
Mm,
I think learning that where I am weak, God has grown somebody else in his strength. And so when our team is together and I see them practicing what God has put on their heart and discipling teams or leading a youth worship band or just tugging their family along to different events and loving on some teens that need a little extra love. It just reminds me that I do not have to have it all together. I don't have to have all the answers. That God has actually prepared and equipped an entire team for that. And as long as we're all listening to him, he'll just kind of direct us how it's supposed to go. But
Hmm.
it's hard because you think that you have to have all the answers.
Right. Yeah, it takes an army. It takes really a community, right? It's not just led by one person. Um, and yeah, I've had a wonderful time being able to work with you and uh, go to youth groups and things and serve in that way. Something I've really been liking is the summer plan you've kind of had this summer and um, the small changes we made with like being more in the sanctuary, focus on worship and the overall center of prayer. How's that been this summer so far for you? I mean, I've had a blast doing it. Um, but how's this been for you? What do you think?
It's an incredible experience. I mean, Whitney's dad actually, we were in a discussion one day and she said, my dad writes kind of like curriculum stuff for things like this. And I was sharing my heart that I just felt like all of us after losing Jeff last year and just all these big changes we were going through, we just kind of all felt like, or I felt like we all just kind of needed to experience God. And it's been beautiful that we've been able to, Whitney, said there's nothing going on in the sanctuary on Wednesday nights in the summer. Let's use it. And her dad helped. He actually wrote a curriculum for us that has just influenced a lot of what we're teaching. But I think that something that's been absolutely amazing is seeing you and Josiah and Alexa. These are former, I had you in Sunday school. I can remember when you were in high school and Josiah was in a discipleship group with Brennan, and I've had Alexa in youth group before. And so to see you young adults pouring out your spiritual gifts with the teens has been a really special gift. And then just watching that worship team jam is
Hmm.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. They're really good at it.
Hmm.
And the students in the sanctuary sitting in their quiet time, just spending time with the Lord it's something I pray everyone gets to witness.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, it's almost to a close here, the summer and everything, and the school year will be starting up and things like that. And that's real exciting, and we'll have a new plan and for the school year, I'm sure, for youth group and whatnot. Um, but looking forward into it, I mean, what kind of plans do we have for this school year? I mean, I'm thinking about some of the struggles that we faced and just I feel like there's a big barrier for entry, I
Mhm.
think, with kids.
Mhm.
Um, and some of them I feel like don't come from backgrounds of having God or religion or Christianity in their lives.
Mhm.
Um, so, going into the future and just thinking about our plans, what is the success going to look like for us? I mean, obviously you want as many kids as you can and, you want the numbers up, but what is the success look like for you for the rest of this year or this next coming school year for you?
That is an awesome question. I'm really excited about the school year. I have seen God just bring so many leaders that really have a heart for relational ministry.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is actually coming alongside a group of students, a few students, and just sharing their wisdom and what God has taught them through scripture and what God has taught them through their experience. And I think that we do. We have a wide array of students. That's the word. Um, wide range of where students come from, and some of them, they have not grown up in the church. They may just be hearing about Jesus for the first time, and some of the other students have grown up their whole lives, and they're just at that point where they kind of want to make their faith their own. And I think that we have a wide range of leaders who have a heart for the different places students are at,
Mhm.
and so I'm really excited to build on that this school year, just more of a relational ministry.
Mm.
I think we're going to have our base youth hour where we do dinner and worship and maybe a game, or maybe we pack Operation Christmas Child boxes together. that's kind of fellowship and family style. And then we're going to really heavily pour into those small groups and discipleship groups with these kids and grow, hopefully come alongside them and grow their faith and give them a space where they can ask the hard questions.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking maybe we should have explained, what youth Wednesday night youth group really is. Um, but really, it's just a place for a time and a place for kids to go and not. I think like what you said, not only learn but ask the hard questions and just have a group of kids with you to be in fellowship with. I think that's like the most important thing. Um, because we've been thinking about this a lot. I know we've had a lot of conversations of, um, you know, we want kids to be comfortable. We want them to let them in, but where is the line of, we don't want to make things too fun and we lose focus. And then we don't want to be super preachy to them. I think about like as a kid, I didn't want just another sermon. I didn't want just another church service, um, and things like that. And I wanted to have discussion, be heard, and have those questions. And so I think that's probably like one of the great things about youth group is just being able to have those groups and be in discussion. I mean, you've mentioned we have so many great leaders and so many helping hands that I think make it really all work. But would you say that's probably the biggest thing is those discussions, or what really is your favorite part about youth group and things?
Oh, I love discipling teenagers.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. I love watching students come in kind of maybe they know the Bible, maybe they've never heard of the Lord at all. I definitely have a very evangelistic heart, right? So
Mm,
when a student comes in that has never been to church before, I can connect really easily with those students, and I can almost it's a supernatural gift, I feel like, really, to be able to see anyone, not even just a student, but come in for the first time, and I can just envision what God wants to do with their story, and
mm-hmm,
I just see someone that God wants to come alongside and just, I can just feel the love God has for them. And so I love that aspect. But oh man, I have grown so much into loving watching students' faith become their own through discipleship and discussions.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and it's definitely one of my favorite things is like you're not just there to maybe just help the kids. I think they're also helping you, I think as well. Um, and they do so much for me personally. And I was thinking, like what is something that these kids are really teaching you? Like we do a lot of stuff and try to teach them, but what's something they do, in your heart?
Oh, oh gosh. Well, there's just a lot of times where they ask questions where I have to go look it up. Or I'll send Pastor Chris a text
Yeah,
message and
refer to Pastor
say,
Chris.
"This is what I'm thinking. What do you think about that?" And he's so gracious with me and will, it definitely to lead other people, we have to be led too, and they're like little built-in accountability buddies. I heard that term recently. Where I just have to constantly be seeking the Lord in my own growth so that I can come alongside them. I've got to be filling up on Jesus too. And I think too, just sometimes something I'm learning right now is I don't have to have the answers. That's part of growing in community with Christians is we can dive into that together,
Mhm,
and when I don't have an answer, something my husband always says is, "If I don't have the answer, let's look at it together. Let's go take a look at it together. This is an opportunity to learn more about who God is and what he says." And I just love that part of discipleship because the students are so most of them are so ready to learn, and they come out kind of excited,
mhm,
and wanting to go teach the whole world what they just learned.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remembered one of my favorite things was the discipleship group we'd have after youth group. It would be a group of high schoolers coming together. And that was one of the great things is that we didn't all have the answers, but we were in discussion together. And one of the great things was you guys got to go and corner Pastor Chris and ask him all the questions, and I heard that was really awesome and everything. So, and I'm thinking about, maybe that high school age. I know we have this episode, I think, will come out just before a lock-in that is planning to happen,
Mm-hmm.
which is really exciting and really awesome. But I didn't know if you had any other plans for that age group. I think that's awesome. Every age group has its uh, maybe its own problems or struggles they go through, or things like that. And so I wondered, like, do you have any more plans for that high school age group? I think those guys kind of get missed sometimes, because those are those people that are helping with the younger ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was wondering, like, if you had any more cool stuff like that, because I think that lock-in is like a really good idea.
Yes, that lock-in there's Jess Riley and Nicole Wisely, I actually was just saying, I miss the students. I'm doing all the directory things right now, and I
Mhm.
miss hanging out with them. And they said, let's just have a lock-in. Let's just hang out. And, relationships are formed that way. And I'm really excited about that, just to be able to hang out with the students and, have those deeper discussions with them about where they're at, what they're going through, and y'all know I like to pray. So I love the moment to pray over them. As far as the future goes, we're gonna do things little differently. We've always had Pastor always says, I love the outreach flavor of our student ministries over there at South Campus. And so we want to really hang on to that and build on it to where those students that are coming in and they catch that fire for the Lord, they know who He is and they want to learn and grow more. We really want to build on that through middle school small groups and high school discipleship groups. I loved our high school discipleship group. That was such a precious thing.
Mhm.
And I just feel like there's this special bond that has formed between the leaders and the students together have a really special bond. Um, which was something Brenna was a part of when he was a teenager, and I was always so jealous. So I'm glad I've had my experience now. Um, so going forward, I think that something that came out of that discipleship group was the students, like you were saying, they became the leaders, they were having the ideas. They even put on this skit at one point for the other students at Easter. Do you remember this?
Yes, I
And
do.
they just planned this whole they wanted you or Cam Minert to be Jesus, and they just planned this whole skit out, and it meant so much to the other students because it was their peers doing that. It was their older peers, the people they look up to. And so something I'd really love to build on is how to help these teens practice that, what are their gifts, and have different moments. I know I'm also Cole Hartman and I talk a lot about, he has a real heart for the teens in this community and is involved in FCA, and how can we come together just to help those kids know that there's more than just the kids they see at their youth group that are following Christ.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, and another side of it all that I'm thinking about now is the parents. Big, I know coming up, there's a parent night and things to inform and let them know about the year. But is there anything here you want to let them know, anyone watching, about just youth group and maybe what it is and maybe why they should, um, have their kids come and hang with us goobers?
Yes, because we're so much fun.
Right.
Because everybody should come and find out what Nine Square is.
That's
Everybody should play Nine
hmm
Square.
without a doubt.
Yes, it is very competitive though, so brace yourself. Um, yes,
That's-
yes. Well, the parent night I'm really excited about. Miss Nora Minner is coming alongside, and something that I feel we've lacked for a while in student ministries is we've just never really had the opportunity or the capacity to really plug parents in. Parents as the primary caregivers, they're the ones leading their kids in faith the most, right? Like they spend the most time with their kids. And we would love to partner more with parents. And so Nora is kind of going to have a special eye on that this year. How can we build on that? How can we grow with that? And so I definitely encourage any parent, whether their student is currently involved or whether their child has said, I don't know if youth groups for me. I would love for them to come and be at this parent meeting and just kind of find out what we're going to be doing differently this year. because there is some changes. And so, that is something I think that has lacked in the past. And I'm so thankful for Nora and her heart to want to come alongside and just have a focus on that too. It is very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're a parent as well. And your kids are getting a little bit older now. I'm not sure exactly what the ages are and everything, but is that going to be interesting for you, them coming in and then they're going to be going into youth group and
Yes.
things? Like, are you, I mean, obviously, I'm sure being a parent kind of changes your perspective on how you want to do things and stuff like that. But is that kind of exciting for you, or are you like worried about the
Oh,
kids coming in and
my kids have always been in the youth group.
yeah.
I think they think they're little leaders, They think they really love it. And something that is amazing is Caroline. She's now entering 5th grade.
Mm,
And so I love that God has brought this new young adult leaders like yourself and Josiah and Alexa that I'm watching God build on and grow. And, I think when I think too deep about it, I worry that it'll be uncomfortable for her to have her mom being the one like leading student ministries. And then I look around and I think, but there's a whole team of people, and she knows these people as her family, and they're her church family. And so I think I'm more excited than anything to watch them get to experience their faith on their own and grow into that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up here, is there anything we could be praying for you for, praying for the youth ministry for, maybe some things for people to think about? Anything we could pray for and be on the lookout for?
Yeah. Just pray for our leadership team. I just feel so blessed that they want to be serving in student ministries. And, I would definitely, anyone who has a heart for what's going on in the world today and how much suffering there is, I think that serving the next generation is a beautiful outlet for that, right? Because I hear all the concern and the fear that is spread around about the way that world is today and how many people are turning away from Christ, and I don't see that on Wednesday nights. I get to see the opposite. I get to see people growing and developing their spiritual gifts. I get to see parents bringing their students faithfully to youth group each and every week. I get to see um, students committing their lives to Christ and hear of their amazing camp experiences they got to go on and just ask those questions that prove that there's just really something going on a deeper level there. And so I guess just to pray that that can continue and that we would be able to pour into these students the way that the Lord wants us to.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm really excited for more to come and just be able to continue to work with you and just be with these kids. It's going to be a good time. And I know God's leading us in the right direction.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on today. I appreciate you having this conversation with me and just coming on and be able to talk about the youth ministry. But
Well, thank you.
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening in on this episode here with Marley Gramling. Blessings to you all, and we will see you next time.